Kelee Ringo. I didn't want it to be Kelly. You know what I'm saying? Niggas be spelling shit weird nowadays. All right, so Kelee Ringo, he actually got an A plus, as most people would predict. He was all over the place. You know, he had shit, my bad. Shit ran on me. So he got the 37 solo tackles, which in this grading scale, tackles did get an added boost a little bit to the grade. Just because when you're going to the next level, you want them to be able to tackle running backs, because running backs in the NFL, they get to the secondary and they get wide. So you want somebody that's going to be able to make those plays and somebody that's willing to. So the amount of solo tackles shows willingness. So solo tackles, he had 35. Now I also included assisted tackles as well, just because assisted tackles also means that they're willing to get in the mix. You know what I'm saying? They're not going to shy away from contact, because a lot of times when you have assisted tackles, that means everybody was in on it. You know what I'm saying? So that just shows a little bit added aggression. Now he had 2 tackles for loss, 5 assisted tackles, 2 tackles for loss. He didn't have any sacks, which is okay. He's a DB. He had 2 interceptions. Now he had 7 passes defended, which with me, I'll just say this as we go through the others. Passes defended is really important to me, because, of course, that means that's the amount of times you could, basically, defend, near man, and they were able to log it in as a stat, deflect the ball. But again, this is another one of those that the more you have sometimes means the more you might have been out of position, and your recovery speed and such helped you make the play. But he had about 7 of them. Now I had like a calculation that I put together that was basically your passes defended and your interception percentage, which is basically I put those together. You get a percentage out of those. His was 28.5, which was near the average, because the average was around 20. So it was around 20, 25. So he graded out really well. Real quick points for Sterling gives you the deep dive. For me, really big body, a lot of speed to go at that body. But to me, the flaw is the willingness and eagerness to guess way too often. And I think the guesses that he was able to recover from in college, in the NFL, maybe 6 points and cannons and fireworks going off and all that type of shit.
Okay. So I think that's pretty good. So I think that the theme with Kelee Ringo is speed. Like, the dude is just, he's twitchy. He's fast. He can run with just about anybody. Step for step. I think his instincts are great, especially in zone coverage. He's a 6'2". He's probably going to come in at like 210, 215.
He big.
And if he's with a team that plays a lot of zone coverage, I think he's going to thrive. He's not. You ever seen those athletes that like are really good straight line speed, but sometimes like when they're having to make sharp cuts or use that agility.
I know all about that.
Right,
I know all about that.
He's one of those. He's one of those guys. So I think but at the same time, when he's faced with like crossing routes and in-breaking routes, if he can find his landmark, I think he does really well to mask some of those lateral agility woes, in a sense. I wouldn't even call it woes, but, you want to see him more fluid in and out of breaks and stuff like that when he's trying to go to the ball. I think his ball skills are really good. I think he has really good hands. I mean, this guy is an athlete of athletes. I think he can get you he can play bump and run coverage. I think he can, really high point the ball and take it away from a defender. I would say his awareness to locate the ball when tracking the receiver, I think that could be better. And then, for 6'2", 210, 15 pounds, I don't feel like he's as physical enough as a tackler as you would like to see him be. So
I think a lot of these, there's one guy that has no problem with that, but a couple of these guys aren't really physical at the point of attack. They just kind of get in the way enough to get it done. It's a little bit of the Diggs, Diggs from the Cowboys. It's a little bit like Trayvon,
yeah.
My bad. Yeah, a little bit like him. They can do their job, but they're not really. There's one guy that is eager to tackle, but there's a couple guys, but a lot of them aren't. I mean, a lot of this guy and a couple of them are in this whole class as we move forward.
Yeah, so if you want to put him, man-to-man coverage on an island with a twitchy receiver who runs great in crisp routes, I don't think Kelee Ringo is your guy. So if you put him in a cover 2 or a cover 3 defense, I think that's where he's going to thrive and shine. So
we saw this too. Oh, my bad.
And so in total, I would say, he's a guy that teams could be looking at late round 1, but I think his value is probably going to be round 2.
I agree.
I was just going to add on to your point when you said twitchy guys. We saw that when he had to play against Wilmington. Well, Marvin Harrison Jr. when he played against Williams, Jameson, and when he had to play against, didn't he have to run against Waddle a time, I believe?
Mm-hmm.
And we saw that was difficult. That was difficult for him, and so, but he's also a guy that I think may do poorly against them, but he would excel against a guy like Jefferson.
Yeah, guy that's not really going to burn you per se, but Jefferson does have some really good route running ability, but I think Kelee has the speed to really catch up, if that makes sense. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Recovery speed. So
yeah, which and that's good to have, but
right.
I always say if a guy's got good recovery speed, that means a guy's also good at getting beat.
Yeah, you definitely want him to be more fluid in his hips.
It's harsh, but it's true. Like these guys, a lot of the guys that are really fast and able to recover, like that happens because their whole life they've been so fast that their technique is not as good as it should be, and so they do get beat. But when you get to the level that these guys are about to get to, it can hurt you.
And another thing is, whenever you do have those tendencies, it does kind of from a coach's, from a coaching aspect, like my uncle and my cousin have told me that coaches, it breeds kind of bad habits. When you have the ability to recover, you're always going to take those gambles because you have that card in your back pocket. And I don't think that you'll want to do that at the highest level. Whenever you kind of got a little bit of coverage issues, whatever you're going to be facing in, the top of the best, your Stephon Diggs, your CeeDee Lambs, your good route runners of the league. So I was looking at him as like a second round pick as well. So I was like,
and that's your guy.
Yeah, I know. So but I'm gonna say this before, like
I think
even leading up, like I knew that he'll get beat, but it was the national. When I seen the national, I was like, the Ohio State game. The Ohio State game. That was the one that I was like, yeah. Bro.
I think that though, like I looked at that, and I think that we all look at him, and we see that game, and I think that's two things come from that. We saw that yes, he can be beat, but I think that was more of us seeing how good Marvin Harrison Jr. is going to be, more so than do we have to worry about Ringo, because Ringo just with your eyes, which is why I love the little stat sheet and things, but with your eyes, like you can see he's a specimen and he knows his way around the football field. He's not just like an athlete running around like a chicken with his head cut off. He's a good football player and he's extremely fast and he's built well. So like, I think he might be second round, and we can get to that because y'all know we're going to do the rounds when it's time to do the rounds. I'm not going to dive into that right now, but I think he's good enough to be a first round pick. I think he's good enough to be an anchor on a defensive unit. I just think that you're not going to, like Sterling said, you're not going to put him in a situation that he's going to lose. You're going to have a coach that knows, like, we're going to put you in zone this game.
Yes.
We know you can keep up with this guy. We're going to, like, you're playing, not to say he would dog Mike Evans, but you're playing a Mike Evans type today. We could put you on an island because we know that you can get physical and you're not going to get burnt. You're playing a Tyreek Hill type today. Nah, bro, we're going to put you in some zone coverage. We're going to make sure that you have some help. Waddle type, shifty guy. You know what I'm saying? We're not going to put you – but I like him, though.